Okay, I'm having full body chills. And she, and I don't remember this, and I don't remember seeing fairies. I remember that I liked them. I used to draw them obsessive. I've got thousands of drawings of fairies that Mum would have thrown out. And she said, you were so adamant it was getting concerning. And I put my foot down with you one day and I said, Holly, magic isn't real. You're making that up. None of that is real. None of that stuff you think is real is real. And she said, I cried for 3 days. She said, I screamed and I cried like someone had died for 3 days.
Yes, and many children see them too. About 75% of the world's children today are being born with etheric vision. And when your children talk with people and have daydream playmates, the chances are they are actually speaking to some of these people. Because these angels or angelic forces or nature spirits, as they're often called, will often make themselves seen.
And all of a sudden I hear him go, whoa, or, something like that. So I look up. And as I look up, I see this thing.
And I said, I've never seen a butterfly like you before.
I know that the paranormal is real. Listen.
As soon as I spoke to it, it turns around and makes eye contact with me, and then it stands upright.
And it was at that moment that I saw it was like an orange light appear above this row of trees. From this sort of orange light, this thing appeared. Its wings were actually like sycamore leaf shaped.
And I started talking to them. I'm like, hi, are y'all the dwarves? And I would hear whispers that would say, hi, yeah, you want to play? And it wasn't just my imagination. And I had told them, I'm like, my dwarves, they like beer, And my dad's like, yeah, sure, your dwarves like beer. And they were holding a conversation, and his beer slid upwards instead of downwards, how the house was tilted. And him and my brothers jumped up.
So I stopped calling out Adam, and I'm just kind of, my mind draws a blank, and I stop behind that tree stump. I'm pretty close to it now because I took a few steps forward, and I see this thing.
Welcome everybody tonight to Fascinating Fae. Tonight, we're traveling to Australia to talk with Holly. Holly, how are things going in Australia tonight?
Yeah, really nice. Thanks, Jim.
Well, Holly, for those listening, depending on how I edit this episode, you may have been introduced there without being introduced. So thank you for allowing me to have such an open conversation with you at the pre-conversation stage of our talk tonight. Thank you so much for that.
Thank you, Jim.
Well, this would mark where we're going to start your episode. And so, again, depending on how I edit it, we'll see how this plays out. But as you know, Holly, what I like to do at the start of all my shows is I spend about 1 minute giving yourself and the audience the lay of the land so that we have a comfortable conversation. Is it cool with you if I take a minute to do that now, please?
Go for it.
Okay, well, thank you very much. Well, so for those that might be dropping in here for the first time on Fascinating Fae, the way that I like to structure the show is to take away the emphasis of convincing. Talking about Fae stuff is trippy enough as it is to begin with, and trying to, get the context and the details out while also trying to convince somebody that this really happened is a big burden. And so here on the show, we're less focused on, being convinced and more focused on just creating space to hear what happened. As you know as well, it's brave to come on this show. And for those listening who have, maybe skipped past this part every time I say it, I'll say it again. It is brave to come on this show. The subject matter in this show can be kind of fun and fanciful, but at the same time, any and all of it is deeply illuminating as to the nature of reality, and that carries huge risks, because the understanding of the world around you can be a threat to others, it can be a threat to yourself. It's a huge, huge fucking swamp to wade through. And so coming and lending your voice is an increasingly brave act, especially in the context of what you and I just talked about. It is brave to come on this show, Holly. Thanks for doing it. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, Jim.
And your mantra about, agreeing to not be afraid is extremely powerful in context with that, second point that I usually do here at the start of the episodes. So hats off to you for being a brave soul in the face of this subject matter. I know sometimes I don't even feel like I've got it, so. And then the last thing I usually say is just, as you know, as a fan of the show, Holly, I like to kind of let my guests have a lot of space and time to get into it. I will give the, brief additional bit of information for the audiences listening tonight that, Holly sent me a wonderful email, really detail rich. I feel super respected, and I love it when people engage with me like that. And so it means a lot to me when people do that. And please, if you're out there and you'd like to talk with me, that's a super welcome thing to start, these kind of conversations off. So with all that said, slightly protracted intro to my episode with you here tonight, Holly. But with all that said, I'll ask you to do this. In your email, you outlined, a great sequence of events. You're an extremely articulate and capable communicator. So just let us have it. Walk us into everything that you've come here to talk about tonight. As you know, I'd like to hear a little bit about you before you begin, but if you'd be so kind, just kind of take us there tonight, please.
Oh, well, thank you, Jim. Thanks for having me. Also, all that tough talk about I'm not scared of being scared. I feel super nervous now. But I'll go with it. I'll go with it. I'll trust in my communication skills. So I live in Australia, and I grew up here. I'm an Aussie Sheila, bit rough and tumble. I grew up with the most incredible, iconic, wholesome, nature-filled childhood you could dream of. I lived on 5 acres in New South Wales, and that 5 acres was skirted by hundreds of acres behind our acreage of pristine blue gum forest. Gorgeous, gorgeous country. And I had a very happy childhood. We had my dad grew all the food that we ate, and we had chickens, and we had a horse, and we rode motorbikes, and we were like real outdoor, rough and tumble kind of bush kids. And I had a love of the outdoors, and I still do. My dad was like really into bushwalking and all this stuff. So I've always had a deep connection with nature just from my childhood experiences. But I mean, the reason I'm talking about the property I grew up on is because I feel like it's pertinent for the story. So I grew up in this beautiful house. It was this really long, flat house. Australian houses on 5 acre properties. They used to build them in the 70s and 80s, and they were as long as the property, basically. They weren't multi-story because we've just got so much space here to build our houses. So I'm in this long house, like loads of bedrooms. It's like a Taj Mahal. Basically, it's a palace by this day's standards. And behind the house was a sloping paddock, an open green grassy paddock. Sloped down, we had a chook shed, and then behind that was a dam, and then behind that was the forest. Probably, I don't know, 300 meters of yard between the back of the house and where the bushland starts. My bedroom was at the back of the house, and my sister's bedrooms are at the front of the house. They had a rose garden and some other nice stuff out the front of theirs, but my bedroom faced the bush. And one night I was asleep. It was late at night. I think I was asleep. It's hard for me to pinpoint how old I was when this happened. In my email that I sent you, Jim, I guessed myself at 6, but it could have been anywhere between 5 and 8. For some reason, I just can't remember how old I was when this happened. The reason I've gone with 6 is because I was old enough then, when I was really little, I used to sneak out. I used to stay awake after everyone else had gone to sleep from when I was probably about 5, especially on full moon nights. And I would wait till everyone was asleep and I would sneak out and I'd go for bushwalks at night. I had this thing. I wanted to be in the bush. I wanted to see what the world looked like at night time. I was really curious about it. On this particular night, I was either still awake or had been woken up. I suspect I had been woken up. Don't fully remember. And I suspect I'm about 6. What I do distinctly remember is being drawn to my window, not to go outside, not to sneak out like I usually did. I was drawn to my window and it was really bright outside. And I crouched down in the corner of the window for some reason. I didn't just stand at the window. I kind of nestled in the corner. We had these really huge windows. They were floor to ceiling, beautiful, sort of old fashioned country looking windows. You could slide them from the bottom and just sneak out underneath. And so I crouched in the corner. So I was kind of in the shadows because it was so bright outside. It was like one of those nights that basically look like day. And I remember on those full moon nights, I used to love gazing outside. I mean, like, it's so bright. I can see the green in the trees. Whereas normally on a dark night, it's just black and white. But I could see everything. It was so, so, so bright. I was like, wow, it's bright. And I was drawn to the window and I could hear the very distinct sound of feet crunching a nice, crisp, slightly mildewy buffalo grass. It's got, like, buffalo grass, it's got a very distinct sound. At night, when you live out in the bush, it is really quiet. It is so quiet that when someone walks on grass, it's almost amplified. It's almost like this really big noise. And I was like, I can hear someone walking on the grass. And I'm crouched there. And so I look in the direction where the noise, and I can hear the footsteps coming. I can't see anything yet. And then a figure walks into view. And it's a huge green man. He's about 7 to 8 foot tall. Like, he's huge. And I was a little kid, so, like, when you're a little girl, men look big. I've got a pretty big dad. I'm around, big Australian men. Dad's got lots of friends, all that sort of thing. I know what big men look like, and I know that they seem really big to children, but this guy was huge, like bigger than a big man. And I really think he was about 7 or 8 foot. And he walked straight past my window. He wasn't in a hurry. He just very casually and slowly walked straight past my window. He was only about 3 or 4 meters away from me, crouched in the shadows at my window. We had veranda and then the grass, and he just walked straight past my window. I could hear the crunching on the grass. I looked at him. He was like real. It was like my dad was just walking on the back of the grass. Like, I was looking at a real figure. It wasn't an apparition. There was nothing strange or hazy about him. He was a real person, very much in the 3D. He was huge. But what was really strange about him was that he was green. Like green, like not bright Shrek green or alien green. When you say the green man, you think of like a green alien or the green man of folklore who's like covered in leaves and stuff. I'm terming him the green man because he was a man and he was green. He was just a man, but he was green. But there were a few things that were strange about him. He didn't really look like he was from this world. He didn't have any outstanding features. He didn't quite look like a big ogre from, the Lord of the Rings or anything like that. He wasn't like really mystical looking. He had like a normal face with big features, but he looked like if someone, like, I don't know. It's like he's human, but there was something not human about him. I just can't really pinpoint the features without kind of making it up. I haven't got the right words for it. But he was green. He was dressed in very simple clothes. I distinctly remember he had a leather belt. And I looked at the leather belt and I was like, that is just not the sort of belt I've ever seen. It looked like if you lived in the wilderness and you like killed your own animal and then made your own leather and then made a belt out of that. That's kind of what that would look like. And I think his clothes weren't like a normal person's clothes. He was in like forest, like I don't know, just very simple. I don't exactly remember, so I'm babbling. I don't exactly remember what his clothes looked like, but I remember that they weren't normal. They were very simple. They were all made of what looked like just very natural fiber sort of stuff. I remember his belt. What I really remember about the experience, like that was the features of it. He had boots on as well. What I remember was that he walked past the window and I'm crouched there and I get that feeling that I'm seeing something really strange feeling. And when you see something really strange, whether or not it's got a threatening feel, it has a frightening feeling. And I was a little kid, so I was like, and I remember thinking, I was saying in my head, I felt like he was about to turn and look right at me. I knew that he was going to turn and look right at me. I don't know why I knew that. I just like, he's going to look right at me. My eyes were peeled on him. I could not take my eyes off him. I was riveted. And I was like trying to take my eyes away because, you know, when someone's looking at you, it makes you look. If someone's just staring at you, you just get a feeling. And then so you look where it is. I felt like that was happening. I felt like he knew I was crouched there seeing him. And I said in my mind, please don't look at me. Please don't look at me. Please don't look at me. And I feel like there was this pause in time. He didn't stop and look at me. But I had this experience of this feeling that he stopped, turned, looked right at me, saw me, and gave me this feeling of it's okay. It's okay. Except instead of that actually happening, he didn't look at me. There was almost just this weird little it's almost like he did, except he changed it or something in my brain, in my memory of it. And anyway, so there was this little pause of please don't look at me, please don't look at me. And then he didn't, even though I felt very much that he knew I was there. And I almost heard it in my head. Like I almost heard this comforting, it's okay. It's okay. Like I just had this feeling like you don't have to be scared of me, but I understand that you're a little kid and you're seeing something strange and so you're scared. So he politely didn't look at me, didn't change his pace, didn't stop, didn't look at me, and just kept walking out of view. And I have had and I could hear him. I could actually hear his footsteps once he was no longer in view. Like this is a very real thing that happened. And I remember thinking after he left and he was out of view, I thought to myself, Holly, follow him. Go have another look at that. What was that? What was that? Go follow him. Like I was a brave kid. I used to hang out, I used to sneak out and go bushwalking, all that sort of stuff. I just couldn't leave my room. I was like, go look, at least walk through the house. Because I had a long house, huge floor to ceiling windows everywhere. All I would have had to do was follow him in my house in the direction he was going. He was traveling from east to west. All I had to do was walk to the end of the house in the western direction, and I could have followed him and had a good look at him. And I just couldn't leave my room. I almost couldn't move. I just stayed in my room thinking, go look at him, go check it. And I couldn't. And then I stayed up for a very long time after that. And I walked around my room. I was patting my body down. I was touching objects. I was picking things up. I was pinching myself. I was like checking that I was awake. And I remember feeling really worried that I wasn't going to believe myself in the morning. That if I went to sleep, I was going to wake up in the morning and be like, you dreamt that. That didn't happen. For some reason, I was really worried about not believing myself. I just was. I don't know why I was attached to this. I can't remember why I had a reason for this to be important, that it was real, that I remember it. and that I believed myself, patting myself down. I stayed up for a long time, like just checking the room. I'm like, I'm awake. And so I made a vow to myself. I am going to believe myself in the morning because I know I'm awake. Went to bed, went straight to sleep, woke up in the morning. I remembered what had happened, and I straight away thought, oh, I wonder if I dreamed that. And I have lived my whole life remembering this acutely. Like as I'm telling the story now, I can see him. I remember this. And I actually do have some dream memories. I'm a big dreamer. I have some dream memories from childhood. They are different types of memories. I know I don't have to prove myself on the show here. It's against the rules. But but I've spent my life trying to wrestle with this. And so, if you'll indulge me, Jim, I will say a few more details around why I really cannot convince myself. I've spent the last, I'm 40 now, I've spent probably 35, 30 odd years mulling this over. I spent about 17 years genuinely trying to forget the whole thing and never ever think about it and just put it to bed as I dreamt it. It just keeps coming back. It is such a distinct memory. And thank you to Monique's episode number 2. She had a distinct childhood memory that didn't make any sense. There's a few factors here that I simply cannot discount this as me being asleep and just getting it wrong because I was a kid. Quite a few factors. One of them is I have dream memories from childhood. They're completely different styles of memories. Things which really happened and things which are dream have a different memory quality. This is very distinct. I have the complete visual. It was an acute memory, like almost like when you're, in a car accident or something. There'll be like something that you just really, really remember. It's a flash. It's there forever. It's like seared into my memory. It doesn't change either. I can retell this however many times you like. It's going to be the same thing. There's another thing. There's a few other things. I had pretty vigilant parents. They used to know that I snuck out and they would wake up and mum and dad sort of just like, I think they enjoyed that I was adventurous. We lived in like the safest place ever. They'd let me go. Mum and dad used to wake up to any noise on the property because it was highly unusual for there to be a noise on the property. We had neighbours on both sides. They were both on 5-acre blocks, but those neighbours were elderly. One of them was like, like elderly, had a carer in there and everything. The others were kind of just never went outside other than to mow their grass, definitely not in the middle of the night. And we didn't live near any main roads. There's no street lights. You can't even hear the road from our house. There's just no way that someone that foot traffic would be randomly walking from and randomly walking to, like a drunk guy walking home from the pub. Well, what pub? There isn't one. There's nowhere to come from. There's nowhere to go. We've got fences. My parents wake up to noises, especially someone like walking past there. So my parents' bedroom is right next to mine. The Green Man walked past my parents' bedroom first. When I was hearing the crunching of his feet on the buffalo grass, he was at that time walking past my parents' bedroom on his way to walk past my bedroom window. Once he kept walking in the western direction, he would walk past the lounge room, the kitchen, and then my dogs. And we had 2 German Shepherds. One of them was a police-trained dog, Kayla, awesome animal. Kayla and Clayton, my 2 dogs. They were the most protective, vigilant, intelligent dogs. German Shepherds are intelligent animals. It's why the police use them. It's why they used for all these things. But you put them with a family with young children and they're protective and they're amazing. They were like spirit guides, right? But they were just dogs. They were so good. There used to occasionally be cats or foxes on the property, like, 2 acres down the back. And Kayla would wake up and she would go and sort that out. My dogs didn't stir. And this guy, the Green Man, was walking west past the dogs. Now, that detail has really hammered this home to me that this is just completely true. And the fact that the memory has stuck around the way it has. There's one more thing, and thanks again, Monique, for this. I was thinking about this after listening to her episode. I was like, if little Holly, they're somewhere between 5 and 8 years old, who I did really like fairies and fantasy and that sort of stuff, if I was going to dream about a fairy or some sort of fate or strange encounter, why on earth didn't I see a cute little Tinkerbell with sparkly wings and a wand and a big fluffy dress like in the Cinderella movie where the godmother rocks up and all that sort of thing? Like, I didn't see anything that I had ever seen before. I've looked through books, I've got Brian Froud's fairy book. There's just nothing in there. I wouldn't have seen an image. The Lord of the Rings wasn't out yet. Like, I just wouldn't. I don't think Holly's brain, as a little kid, if I was going to dream about something like that, would have seen just this kind of quite uninteresting, mundane green man walk across my backyard. And if I'm mistaken, and it was full moon, and I imagined the green tinge, and it was just a person, a very large person, why didn't my parents and my dogs wake up?
I always say there's no emphasis on convincing, but I do love it when people do it.
I have to for me, because it would be very easy to get excited and attached to going, hey, something special happened to me one time. I'm attached to that. And I really enjoyed that episode with Jeff, the skeptic. And I had a real head scratcher about that. I was like, am I attached to this? Am I just attached to the fact that something special happened to me? And I went through an exercise of like really reviewing that. Am I just totally attached to this memory? And I've gone pretty deep in there. And I'm like, I like the idea of it. I definitely, my sense of identity and the event, like I like the idea that happened. But at the end of the day, I'm a reasonably like untraumatized person. I have a great sense of self. I've achieved lots of cool things in my life. I lay claim to lots of things. And also, this is a story I tell almost no one. I think I've told my partner, and then the first time I've ever actually really articulated it is when I wrote it down and sent you the email. So I don't think I'm attached to it. So I apologize again about proving it, but I've been wrestling with this forever. This is just the way the story unfolds when I let myself think about it in my brain.
There's so many things that I love about this conversation with you. I love, first of all, that you're referring back to Monique episode 2, which is a really interesting thing to contemplate, that an episode so long ago is so highly relevant to an episode this far down the path. I like that a lot. I also like that you like that episode with Jeff. I put that in there, and I think you really understand why I put that in there. It's healthy to ask, are we just attached to these things?
It's so healthy.
Yes, and the only thing that Jeff is missing, in my perspective, is he hasn't had a real experience. He's otherwise just like everybody else that comes on the show, because we are all, I like to think, not just attached to it. I think everyone who comes forward, this stuff has really happened to, and that's why they're talking about it.
I would love to pick Jeff's intelligence. I'm sorry to interrupt you. I would love to pick Jeff's intelligence apart after something happens in his life that is an undeniable experience, because he was so valuable.
He and I chatted offline after that a couple times, and I'll say that, like, I said to him, like, you're a pretty, like, he's, I don't know how to, like, he's well known in the skeptics community, right? And in the world of, like, skeptic public figures, Jeff Wagg, Brian Dunning, there's a few pretty popular skeptics. And so he actually couldn't really get any of his other skeptic colleagues to also do episodes with me. I asked him, I said, that was great. Do you think some other people that that do skeptical podcasts would also talk with me, and I'll let them debunk my experience, like, because there's one show that's called, like, Squaring the Strange, for example, where they debunk experiences that people have had and rationalize them away. Great podcast, right? And they can chew up a lot. They'll take, most very popular UFO stories, and they'll show why it wasn't true, for example. And I said,
Yeah.
I'd like to come forward. I want to talk to those guys and tell them what I saw and let them do that to me. Because I thought that would make for fascinating content, and I'm open to being wrong. And so, but no one else would do it, which I also found really interesting, you know?
Thank you. Extra confirmation.
Well, I don't know if they listened to the catalog and felt like they couldn't tangle with me or what it was, but Jeff was very brave to come and do that as a skeptic within his own community. Because towards the end, he was a little bit, you know, leaning towards an open-minded response, and I really applaud him for that.
Yeah.
Anyhow, that's that aside, and, you know, talking about the catalog is not really the point here, but it's relevant because you've brought it up, and I appreciate that we can kind of talk as two people who are analyzing the whole together, because that's really what I'm trying to do, is include everyone in the conversation. We're all just kind of trying to figure it out together. I'm the host, you're the guest, but the show is like one big conversation that everyone is a part of at the end of the day. So we're all here to learn from it. But the other thing I really love about your storytelling, one thing that just immediately stands out to me, is the way that you're describing staying up and touching objects and pinching yourself and walking around your room, which, if you're 6 years old when this has happened, that strikes me as a highly logical course of action for a 6-year-old psyche, you know, after that event. Like, you're not an adult, so you might not do what an adult would do after seeing that. You're going to do what a kid would do. And walking around and like pinching yourself and making sure you're awake sounds exactly like what a kid would do.
Fully.
Yeah. And why would that be part of your dream? You're correct that dream memories and memories of real events do have a substantially different quality to them. I don't think anybody listening argues that. I think we all know the difference between dreams we remember and real events we remember. And the way that you're able to tell it and your struggle with it for so long is so interesting. It just really also, when you were telling the story, that juncture at which you were talking about him, sorry, I'm jumping ahead a second, but I'm kind of validating back to you as I go here, which is my purpose of saying all this to you. When you're talking about how you were kind of saying, don't look at me, and then there's this weird hiccup in the workflow there where you kind of remember it, telepathic communication. This is like an extremely rich detail and wouldn't be present in a dream. Dreams are not that detail rich in my experience, and maybe I don't dream to the extent that others do, so I should hold back on saying definitively that dreams have a different quality of memory than waking memories do. But I agree with you, you know, as much as possible, without me knowing, you know, what a super vivid dream is, I guess, because I don't dream particularly vividly. But I've had lots of really, you know, memorable dreams that are really involved, but they don't flow like what you're talking about. It's also interesting too, like the buffalo grass. Is that a particularly like big grass, or is it crunchy? Like, I'm trying to understand the sound.
It's a wide leaf grass, and it's basically just every Australian lawn. It just does. It's diehard here. It does really well, and most people just have buffalo grass. It is a wide leaf, and my dad is the kind of guy who kept our house immaculate. You know, the 5 acres was immaculate. Every square inch of it was immaculate. So we had particularly crunchy, nice grass. It was just always at that fluffiness. It was kind of soft. It was kind of long, but not too long. It's similar probably to, I don't know. I mean, football fields in Australia. I don't know what football fields are like in Canada and Costa Rica, probably different. But yeah, it's a wide leaf grass. And it's just got a particular quality, and any Australians out there listening will be like, oh yeah, buffalo grass, that's definitely part of my childhood.
Also, the way you're describing the clothes, I've heard so many times the description of hand-hewn clothes. Frozen Wolf and the Fae, I mean, she stands out because she's a clothing designer, so she went into the clothes quite a bit. But even just more recently, talking to... I want to say Nina, who saw the fairy in the bubble on her prom night.
Oh yeah.
She also saw like a hand-hewn clothing. And when I listen to like Bonnie and Therese, they talk often about how they kind of look like Quakers, or they have hand-hewn clothing. Even Vicky with the cats and her troll, talking about the troll's pants being like handmade, basically. And the gnomes, who she saw and described as having hand-hewn clothing. It's so interesting because if you think about the Fae as coming from somewhere, not just being this kind of esoteric concept, but being much more like a real thing with a real place of origin, and you listen back to the catalog, you kind of like get the sense that it's a little bit more low tech in a way, over there. Or maybe I shouldn't say low tech, but it feels like sometimes, based on the descriptions people give, that their production infrastructure is a little bit more balanced to their reality, whereas ours is out of kilter with our reality. We overconsume. They don't seem to do that, and it seems reflected in their clothing, which is a weird insight to say out loud.
It's a weird insight, but it's there, and I've noticed the parallel in the episodes, and I listen along, hoping that someone can just explain to me. I'm hoping to come across just my story, basically, out of someone else's mouth, similar to you with your Petunia, and the closest I've got is Vicky. Actually, I'm glad you mentioned her. But the troll. I'm like, well, that's the first thing that comes to mind. I don't remember everything, but where the Fae experience was something large, and the way she described like its clothes and stuff, I'm like, oh, that's sort of similar, but still just not what I saw. But it was like the closest it had got. But yeah, my memory of it was the clothes. The clothes were a detail, because I just remember it being like, they weren't normal clothes. Like if that was just some random guy lost, well, why was he wearing such like just not clothes that anyone ever wears? Like it just, yeah.
I don't know if you mentioned it, but did this man have hair?
Yeah, he did. I just can't really remember what it looked like because I was so fixated on his skin. I was looking right at his face. I just couldn't take my eyes off. I was like really looking at his eyes, but like his face, because I was like, you look at something and you're waiting for your eyes to readjust so you can see it properly, because you're like, oh, I'm not seeing that properly. He's green. Hold on. I'll wait for my eyes to adjust. And then I just kept looking and they didn't adjust and he just stayed green. So I was really fixated on the skin color that I didn't really get to scan for other details. And that's when I really wanted to leave my room and go have a look, and I just couldn't move. I could move, but I just couldn't leave my room.
I know it's you're great to talk to. Something you did that was really great there was you said like 5 kinds of green it wasn't, but what kind of green was it? So
I would love to tell you, when okay, I'll try to get close. It was, if you had like, those green olives you get, they're stuffed green olives and they've got a capsicum in them, and you buy like the cheap ones and they're just not quite as green as like the expensive ones from the deli. And you take it out of the jar and it's on the plate for a few hours and you go to tidy up and it's like lost even more of its green. If you put that green into skin color, it would be something like that. So it was like not. I watched Shrek recently with my daughters, and I was like, "Oh, big green man." No, not what I saw. Like he's bright green, and I've looked up Green Man. I've Googled Green Man, Green Man. I always get the folklore Green Man of the woods, and that's like really cool, but not what I saw. I've looked up trolls. I got really into the Swedish folk fairy tales illustrated by John Bauer. And it must have been a troll because it was so big. And I've got all these beautiful artworks of John Bauer because I love artworks. Nothing. I've just nothing that's that color. Nothing that is just looks like that with those features. It's different from all those images. But yeah, that's the color. I'd say an old, not very expensive, unloved green olive that got left on a plate for a few hours.
Well done. Talking in visual things with words is like so hard. Painting a picture with words when you're trying to talk about colors is extremely difficult, but I kind of get a good visual now. The other thing I'm trying to understand, and as you know, I only ask questions because I'm curious. You've said a few times like a big man. Are we talking like Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson jacked, or are we talking like overeating big, like big belly?
He was not overweight and he wasn't Dwayne. He was just, if you just happen to be 7 to 8 foot tall and maybe like, maybe like a concreter. You know, those guys, they're like not overweight and they work hard all day and they're out in the sun and they're all weathered, like really weathered skin, and they're just thick. They're not like Dwayne. They're not like ripped. Like they don't go to the gym and work out all day. He was just like, if you lived in the woods and lifted heavy things all day simply to survive, and you were surviving quite well and you're well nourished, you would just be large and girthy without being overweight and without being ripped. He was in that kind of zone. And, you know, I've tried to imagine how old he was, and it is beyond me. I'm not good at guessing ages on a good day, but there was just something otherworldly about him that I mean, in human terms, he was probably a healthy 40-ish year old person, but he could have been 500. Like there was something about him that was so weathered and so otherworldly I say otherworldly, but there was nothing strange about him. Like he wasn't shimmering. He wasn't like moving strangely. He wasn't doing anything magical. He was just walking from one place to the other. But there was still just a quality about him that if I tried to guess his age, it just wouldn't be there. I feel like it was almost like he was just from a different time. So his age wouldn't compute here anyway, if that makes sense.
Yeah, my brain is just computing as I listen to you. You saw this. I don't feel that this is a dream memory. You were 6 years old, and you said that it was like early, like in the middle of the night, because you would go for moonwalks. It reminds me immediately of like Tristan wanting to go for a moonwalk with his dad, and I wonder if that action of like staying up into that time is a technique that can be used by children.
Well, I used to do it. It used to be really important to me. I had this clock in my room and it like had the big numbers. It was a digital clock. And I used to sit there and pretend I was asleep and I'd stay up. I'd be like, all right, I'm staying up tonight and I'm going to go for a bushwalk. I used to take my dog. So I felt really safe. And I used to walk with a stick in front of me because we get these big orb spiders and you walk through them and you've got this huge spider right at base level. So I used to walk with a stick in front of me, waving it up and down so I didn't get taken with a spider web. And I'd have my dogs and I would just go poke around the back. And I don't remember what I saw or what happened. I really was very entranced with Tristan and those moonwalks for this reason. I was like, well, what was I doing down there? Because I had two older sisters. They lived on the property too, and they weren't up doing moonwalks. And why was I just doing that stuff by myself? Like, why was it so important to me to get up and do that? And I think mum and dad sort of knew about it, but they were quite happy for me to be out just being my adventurous outdoor self. Why did I do that? And what was I seeing down there? Because I feel, I won't go too far into it, but I feel like it's potentially, and I just don't remember it because I don't have access to those memories anymore. I feel potentially like maybe I did used to get up on moonwalks and go see cool stuff in the bush. Don't know, don't remember it, but it's possible.
I mean, my goosebumps are a little bit out of control right at this juncture.
Yeah, there's more to that, but I don't have anything concrete to talk about, so we'll leave it just because it's just too there is, but it's just too left field and speculative. I did want to present my story, which I truly believe in, which is the Green Man. I've got other things which are speculation, but that's just me indulging myself talking about myself. But I think the Green Man is like I am sure that I saw that, I was awake, and that it was real, and that I'm not mistaken. I'm completely sure I'm not mistaken. I've had other occurrences which I've had that I'm like, yeah, look, I'm pretty sure about that, but I could be wrong. There are reasons here that I could be wrong. But with this Green Man story, it's this die-hard memory of mine that I'm just sure I'm not wrong. And it's why when I listen to your episodes that I get on board. I'm like, yeah, far out. I believe you. I have the capacity to believe that because I saw this thing once. And that is why I listen to every episode and I'm like, yeah, right on. Wow.
Certainly when you see one of these fucking things, you're done. You're fucking cooked. Doesn't matter if you're 6 or 60. Did you tell your parents or no?
No, I did not tell anyone. I haven't mentioned it until the last couple of years of my life. Recently, I mean, I was even with my partner for years before I mentioned it to him. And do you know, another reason I like Jeff so much, and he made a lot of sense to me. My mum is a die-hard skeptic. Like she and I love her. We're great. But she is so the opposite of me. She's rational, logic, science-based. If it's not proven by science, it simply doesn't exist. And I think that was probably, my dad's a little bit different. I remember him reporting seeing some elders in the bush. He used to go, and I used to think, oh, wow, there must be like Aboriginal people that live here. He just used to actually see the spirits of the elders looking over our land when he used to go bushwalking, as I found out later. So Dad's a bit more inclined that way, but you've got to get him in the right mood and the clouds have to part and all that sort of thing. He's not that open-minded unless it's like he's just in that mood. So I didn't talk to Dad about it because it was the 80s. You didn't really talk to your dads back then anyway, even if they were good. And my mum is such a skeptic. I wouldn't have dared say it to her. I think that in that moment where I was patting myself down and checking my room, I think I knew that I needed to just remember that it was real, because if I said it to my family, they were going to immediately be like, you're ridiculous. Like, stop being ridiculous. You've obviously dreamed that. You're a child. You don't know what you're talking about. Like, that would have been the reaction. I, to this day, haven't mentioned it to my mum. I'm a little bit curious to ask my family, because what if I did mention it and they're like, oh, yeah, we used to have this phosphorescence and sometimes people look green, and sometimes the old neighbor down the road, he was super weird and used to make his own clothes. A couple of times he would walk into our yard because he'd been drinking, you know, like maybe I could mention it and it'll all be explained. But I just don't think that's the case, and I'm very much not comfortable talking to my mum about it now any more than I was when I was 6.
Yeah, it's almost, for me, again, one of my tactics in trying to produce quality content is to just really listen to people as best I can. And I think that the fact that you didn't tell them is very affirming to this being a real event as well. Because it seems like something that you were aware was highly unique to you. It's interesting too. I'm trying to collect my thoughts, but something keeps coming up that I'm trying to blurt out about these moonwalks, and then also the fact that you saw this from within your room. It kind of feels to me, I don't know what I'm trying to say, but it kind of feels to me like I'm pretty sure that you were experiencing some stuff on those moonwalks and perhaps being compelled to do that by a little bit more than we can give voice to. But the fact that you were kind of within your room is that liminal threshold that maybe is allowing you to hang on to this memory. Whereas the ones that you were having on your moonwalks might be a little bit harder to access. It might be just that part of being in your room when you saw this that kind of enables this memory to be so vivid. Because if you were getting compelled to go out on moonwalks as a little girl, and then you saw this, and I contemplate the impact that talking to you has had on me already for an hour with our many shared goosebumps, you just strike me as like absolutely clairvoyant, and most likely you were having some stuff going on there at a younger time. Another thing too that I'm curious about, like you mentioned, if you're 17 years, you tried not to think about it. What got you thinking about it again? Or would you notice like at times this would come up and you would be like, fuck this memory again? Like how did it, yeah, I'm curious how you've been like tangling with it. Cause for me, here's my question better. For me, I think about what I fucking saw just about every day still. For you, when did you start to get refocused on this memory? And what was that like for you? I'm curious.
That's a great question. I've asked myself that question as well. There's a few answers, and they all make perfect sense. To start with, had a very skeptical family, and so I think I just got to an age, the teenage years where you really want to fit in. And I am such an empath, and I'm so sensitive. I was a lamb to the slaughter as a teenager trying to fit in. And that kind of followed me into adulthood, where I would just always put myself aside and just fit in. It was a real survival instinct for me, maybe like being the youngest child or whatever. And then I joined the Navy, the Defence Force, when I was 23, because as well as being a sensitive, creative empath, I'm also, on the flip side of that, adventurous, and I love challenge. I love structure. I love discipline. I love hard work. I just love achieving things. So I joined the Defence Force. I joined the Navy. My pop was in the Navy. My dad was in the merchant Navy. It was kind of like a thing. So I did it. And then I spent 17 years in the Navy, and I did all sorts of rough and tumble, crazy stuff that knocked me around a lot, but I'm also very appreciative of it. And then on the tail end of that, I was burnt out. And it was in those 17 years in the Navy that I was like, goal focused, I've got purpose. I work on warships. I'm traveling. I'm in, I'm out. I'm living in and out of cabins. I'm living on warships. I'm posting in, I'm posting out. I'm busy, busy, busy for 17 years. And I got really burnt out, slowed down, met the love of my life, had babies. I've got two daughters, 3 and 6 years old. And the process of becoming a mother, it's like when you give birth, I'm sure mums out there listening will understand this. I had this like hard casing around me. I shut down my intuition. I fit in. Wherever I go, I fit in. People like me and I achieve things. That was like this full-blown identity that I had. I was extraordinarily attached to. And then I gave birth to my first baby, and that glass casing around me shattered. And I have been walking around ever since then, cutting myself on those shards, because my poor little introverted, sensitive self has just spent the last 17 years in perilous situations that were stressing me out beyond belief without me even realizing it, because I'd shut it all down. I think a lot of the reason I shut it down is because of my skeptical mum telling me, Holly, you've got to stop sounding so weird and saying weird things, and you can't see magical beings and blah, blah, blah. That sort of stuff. I actually suspect I used to see pretty cool stuff. And so it was when I had my first baby that it started coming back up. And then this amazing thing happened, right? I went on leave for 9 months. And I didn't go to the Navy for 9 months. I was just on leave. I was at home in my baby bubble. And when I didn't go as an empath and a sensitive person, which I didn't know I was, when I didn't go to that autocratic organization every single day, which I was quite fond of, when I just didn't have to go there every day, I started realizing who I was. All the dust settled, and I was like, oh, wow. I'm not who I thought I was. And that's when I started thinking about it. And it became, without my permission, very important to me. And that happened 6 years ago, because my eldest daughter's 6. When I had my second baby, it was another awakening. I had so many more childhood memories, like delightful childhood memories come back to me. I talked to my mum about this, actually. Not the green man, just this sort of awakening and this realization. I had no idea my whole life I'm super sensitive and I'm an introvert. And she said to me that when I was little, I was so whack, like I was so off the planet. She was really worried about me like there's something being wrong with me, because I insisted. Now, I do not remember this. This is my mum just randomly telling, my skeptical mum, who I don't talk to about stuff like this. I talk to about my kids and, what we're all doing for Christmas and stuff. She said to me, Holly, I was so worried about you, I just had to put my foot down one day. She goes, you insisted that magic was real and that you could see fairies. Okay, I'm having full body chills.
Yeah. Go on.
I don't remember this, and I don't remember seeing fairies. I remember that I liked them. I used to draw them, obsessive. I've got thousands of drawings of fairies that Mum would have thrown out. And she said, you were so adamant it was getting concerning. And I put my foot down with you one day and I said, Holly, magic isn't real. You're making that up. None of that is real. None of that stuff you think is real is real. And she said, I cried for 3 days. She said, I screamed and I cried like someone had died for 3 days. She said it was ridiculous. It was the most ridiculous behavior I've ever seen from a child. This is my poor skeptical mother thinking she's really doing me a favor. And I do wonder, and I don't remember that. I don't remember seeing them. I don't remember having this interaction with my mum at all. It was just something she said to me, and she just said it like really casually, like it was this really good parenting decision. And I was like shell shocked. Like I was like, fuck, I need you to leave and I need to cry. I was like rattled. I was really rattled. It took me a few months to talk to her properly after that. I keep my social graces because I love my family and I don't want to harm her. Like she thought she was doing the right thing because she's a diehard skeptic. But I'm like, holy shit, that's really interesting. And I have an uncle who I spoke to randomly. He had his brother die very unexpectedly in a cattle farming accident. He's a cattle farmer from Victoria. If you're familiar with Australian cattle farmers, they are rough and tumble kind of guys. They don't talk about fairies. He was a really sweet uncle, like a legend. I have such beautiful memories. We used to stay with him on his farm during holidays. And he visited us once and once only, and he stayed at our house like 2 nights, him and his wife, my auntie. And I called him, right? I haven't spoken to him in years. There was a family accident. I randomly called him and he said to me, it was the most important thing in the whole conversation. I haven't spoken to this guy on the phone for like 10 years maybe. He goes, Holly, do you remember your fairies? Yeah, that's brought tears to my eyes. I don't know why. Yeah. And I just said, it was really important to him. He needed to hear it from me that I remember them. And I said, yeah, of course. I loved fairies. He's like, no, Holly, tell me you remember your fairies. And I don't. Yeah. And actually, the reason that he was privy to that, when he stayed at our house, and I remember this, I do remember this. I remember Uncle Ken spending this one-on-one time with me, which you didn't get a lot when you were the third child, especially in Australian 80 childhoods. He came down the bush, down the back where I used to go on my moonwalks. And he said I spent a couple of hours down there introducing him to every fairy. I knew their names. I knew where they lived. I knew what they lived on. I knew what flowers and trees they were in. He said it was crazy. He said, I've never seen a child with that much information. It blew him away. I remember taking him on a walk and it being fun because I had one-on-one time and attention from an adult. I don't remember seeing fairies or us talking about that. It was 10 years I haven't spoken to this guy. He goes, do you remember them? It was like a heartache for him. Like he wanted me to have that. So, yeah, I think when you say there's a connection with the moonwalk, when I was saying before, look, I don't want to talk endlessly about myself. I so apologize right now. I've just talked endlessly. This is the speculative stuff. I can't prove that. I don't remember it. But it's interesting when it's kind of put together. Yeah.
I've been biting my tongue because that was something I didn't want to interrupt, but I almost have to. I think, there's more stuff there that I don't really remember. I was like, whoa, goosebumps. And then later when you got to the section of the conversation where you're talking about the way that you told your mother that magic is real and you can see fairies. I'm getting it again.
Yeah.
It's the same goosebumps. So
Yeah.
I just to make sure you follow that, you talking for a moment there, and you kind of maybe 2 minutes earlier said, "Yeah, I think there's more that I remember that I don't know," and I got this like goosebump wave, and then you progressed in the conversation. You got to the point where you talked about, you know, what you said to your mom about magic being real and you can see fairies, and it was like the first goosebump was like the preceding echo, and then it got right to what that goosebump was about. The two matched, and that's really interesting to me. Also, the fact that your uncle has this deep recollection of that conversation and the way that you're emotional about it, I don't know. I'm glad I asked that question about when did you start to have this memory be important to you again.
Yeah, I'm glad you. Well, I really didn't want to go on the tangent because I don't want it to sound like, oh, this chick's just obsessed with fairies and she's obviously just made all that up. You know, I guess there's part of me that is still in prove it mode, probably because of my experiences with my mum and the way I've lived my life in autocratic organizations and stuff. So I kind of didn't want to mar the validity of my story by being like, oh, and also I have like this weird little childhood like associations with really liking fairies. But yeah, it's just the fact of the matter.
I see what you're doing there, and I appreciate that. In fact, I wouldn't fault you for having that approach, but my intuition tells me that those are all deeply interconnected events, and that very, very much to me, what I'm hearing is that you did see fairies when you were younger, which is most likely why, whether you can intellectually understand it at 6 or not, you were waking up or staying up to go outside, and it was so important to you. And I wonder, like, what the circumstances will be. Most likely after we talk, something will happen in your brain when the further memories from that time unlock for you. I feel like they're coming. It's interesting. And, you know, like what you're talking to about being an empath and being an introvert, I mean, join the club. The way you describe yourself there, I resonate so deeply with. Like, I got that drive to succeed and stuff too, and I love adventure. But at root, I'm a empathetic. Like you said, lamb to the slaughter as a high school student. Yeah, me too. My whole life, in fact, it doesn't matter whether I'm in a corporate boardroom or whatever. This is one of the few environments I feel kind of like the person I am has a function rather than me trying to jam the person I am into a situation or environment that I don't really fit in. So I don't know. I'm getting a whole lot out of talking with you, not the least of which is like my own gumption that you saw fairies as a kid, and most likely you're still that same person. There's nothing's changed, just a lifetime of it. Because one of the things about this show is like, how is it that these events get unlocked in people's lives? And you're talking about something from childhood, but as I listen to you, I hear all the same qualities that would have made that possible in childhood still intact within you. And your love for the show and you reaching out to me says to me that you're still that same 6-year-old girl. Absolutely, you know? So,
Thanks, Jim.
I don't know if that makes any sense.
It does. And actually, I think that was my number one motivation for reaching out was I do like credit where credit is due. And I wanted to just genuinely let you know my appreciation for your work and putting this together. It's remarkable. But another element was I thought, you know, I've been wrestling with this by myself for 30 odd years. I wonder if I would get any additional insights from actually speaking to Jim. And I also weirdly just feel like I'm your friend, even if you don't know me. I'm like, I'm over here in Australia, I'm listening to your show. I feel kinship with you. So I felt really comfortable. That's unusual for me, especially with this subject matter. So I was hoping that maybe Jim knows something about this, like maybe just a perspective. In conversations, it can just be one thing that someone says, and you have all these epiphanies later on. So yeah, I guess I was hoping for some sort of pennies to drop, or some sort of extra light to be shed on the subject. And I feel like this has been a really enriching conversation for me. I've so enjoyed it.
Why did you just say pennies to drop there? Is that an Australian turn of phrase, or is that...
When the penny, yeah, it must be. A penny dropping is when you have a light bulb moment. Like, aha, I get it now. I can see the answer. I've been wondering about that forever.
Oh, yeah. You know what? Fuck. Okay, here we go.
Okay.
So okay. Yeah. This is too cool. I forgot what I was going to say there a second ago. This is so bad. I'm totally sorry. You're not like at the same speed as my brain right now, because I've just been listening to you and all sorts of stuff has been going on my end that you have no idea about. I have to fill you in. When we were talking there for a second, did you hear me go, whoa? Did you remember that? Like
yeah, a little bit. I thought maybe you were clearing your throat or something.
No.
I heard you. I heard you make a noise and I couldn't identify it.
Yeah, because you were talking about this memory from your uncle, and the mouse on my screen went zigzagging all around while I was looking at it, and I'm not touching the mouse.
Wow.
I know. Super interesting.
That's super interesting. I think that's a really important moment. And even the fact that I spoke to my uncle, Jim, it was so strange. Like, I've never called my uncle. We used to go to his farm in childhood. It was super strange that I called him. There was like this tragic farming accident. His younger brother, he's like one of 11, like cattle farmers, they just keep breeding until they can kind of man the whole farm. And he died in a mustering accident. It was really tragic, and it was on the news. And I was in Cairns. They live in country Victoria. I was in Cairns. It was on the Cairns news. I heard about it, and I heard the name McKimmy, right? There's heaps of McKimmies. That's like the most standard name ever in Australia. We're from, English, Irish, convict stock. There's McKimmies around. And I just thought, I should call Dad. I don't call my dad very often. Love him. We don't talk that much. We're both stoic. And I called Dad, and he goes, oh, Holly, Rocket. He calls me Rocket. Rocket, something terrible's happened. I've just heard. It was just that, I've just heard Uncle Ken's brother has died in this accident. I'm in Cairns. They're talking about it, like the other Navy people I'm with are like talking, have you heard about this tragic farming accident? Like, people are talking about it. And I said out loud, I go, I think that's my cousin. And they're like, really? I'm like, yeah, like country Victoria, Corryong, it was the name of the town. It's a very small town. I'm like, I think that's my cousin. I call my dad. And then Dad goes, you should call Ken, because his son lives in Cairns. Cairns is like such a random place for a country Victorian to live. So he's like, you've got family up there. Call Ken. Talk to him about your cousin. You might be able to meet up. So I call Ken. Ken is like, yeah, thanks for calling about my brother, blah, 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 blah. Whatever. Holly, do you remember the fairies? Tell me you remember your fairies. So, like, it was so random that I spoke to him. I have never called him as an adult, ever. Haven't seen him in 20 years. I haven't seen him since I joined the Navy. And yeah, I had a penny drop then. I only now, in prattling away and having a tangent there with you, have put that together in my brain that was quite strange, that I even got that information from him, which right now in this conversation has been quite powerful for me.
Honestly, this is turning out to be a super great episode. It contains an extra special value because you've been a fan of the show for the whole series, and like I don't know. Also, the penny drop thing. Sorry, I just got to get back to that for a second, because the very last person that I spoke to, I don't want to spoil episodes for you because I know you're a fan, but sorry, you have to get this spoiler. I spoke to this woman, Harper, and she's got crazy level of fairy activity happening in her house. She I don't. I'm not. I'm not going to spoil it too much for you. And this episode will come out after Harper's, but I'll still try not to spoil it for you too much. But let's just say this: she does something to acknowledge the Fae, and then afterwards, she goes walking up the stairs of her house. She's coming out of the yard, going into the house, and a penny drops into her left shoe. And it's a completely shiny penny from 2007. Looks like it's never been out of the box. And she was like, I think that's like a confirmation gift. And the next day she's walking in her house, and again, a second penny drops out of the sky into her left shoe. And then finally a third one drops into her shoe. And when the third one drops into her shoe, she sees a flash of light before it happens, and then it drops into her shoe. And if you imagine like an open-toed slip-on sandal that just covers like the roof of your foot, and your toes are open and your heel is open, that's what she was wearing. And she's walking like one time upstairs, one time in her kitchen, and one time out in the grass. And 3 separate times, a bright, shiny 2007 penny drops from about 6 inches up into her shoe from nowhere. And then here you just talk about a penny dropping. For me, I just immediately connected why they're dropping pennies. Like,
Yeah. I was having rushes of the back tingles, the high vibe ones. Penny number 1, I got a rush. Penny number 2, it was increase, and penny number 3, it was zinging.
yeah, and because they line up the guests, the little, which speaks immense volumes about their observer status and their orchestral abilities. Are you getting them now? Here come the goosebumps. They can synchronize everyone's lives down
There they are. Yep.
down to these episodes.
I'm like squirming.
I could float off the fucking bed right now. I told you it's hard to do this show. You got to buckle in like a roller coaster ride.
Man, I'm gonna need a couple of days to come down. This has just been such a valuable conversation. Oh gosh, what did you say before, Jip? You said something before while you were telling me about your penny association. What did you? Okay, sorry. I know it's nearing. We've been on the phone for a while now, but would you mind if I shared just this other thing, just because you said about half hour?
Go, please. Yeah, no, we're not in time constraints. This is one hell of a conversation. This
is one of my speculative. I didn't want to mention it. Thank you. I didn't want to mention it. You can cut it out as well, because I'm like, well, this is just speculative. But this is recently, and I touched on it when we were talking before the intro. That recently you said that Harper made an offering, like actively did an offering. Well, over the Easter holidays, and this is what pushed me to email you. I've been thinking, I should really email that gym guy. And then I'm like, dropping my kids off for school, busy. No, I've made all that up. Anyway, we're out camping for the Easter holidays, and it's this beautiful spot. And I'm all in camping with kids zone. I'm just like making spag ball and run around and making sure I know where my kids are. And I said to Matt, it was the last day, I said, Maddie, oh no, actually, sorry. Let me go back. Sorry. You'll definitely have to cut this out. It's so long-winded and hickledy-pickledy. Before we went camping, I needed to go get a blood test for something super mundane. Like, it was so mundane. Anyway, had this blood test piece of paperwork in my bag, and it has a certain look about it. I go to get the blood test the day we're going to leave for camping. I've got a million things to do, get the camper trailer ready. I'm going to get the blood test. I'll try to shorten this down. Anyway, rock up, wait 45 minutes, ask where the lady is. They're, oh, she's not here. She's at an appointment. We don't know when she'll be back. I said, bugger it, I'm leaving. So I left, went camping. I'm out camping. I take 2 hours to myself, mum guilt central. I said, Matt, can I please go for a bushwalk? Is this something I just want to go do? No worries. So I go for a bushwalk. I know I've done it before. There's this beautiful lookout. So I don't even want to exercise. I just want to go sit in the bush. So I just walk up to the lookout, and I take with me a fairy hanging piece that I've made out of epoxy resin, chucked it full of crystals, put some pretty beads on it. I went to this really, really pretty rock, that was totally off the track. Really nice spot. I sat down, I did a 20-minute meditation, and I just thought, stuff it, I'm just going to be super woo-woo here. And I made this fairy offering. I was like, well, let's go. I've been listening to the podcast. I've been out of the Navy for a year now and feel a bit more confident in just being my weird self. I make this offering. I've thought about doing something like this for years. I've never just like committed and done it because it's like seems unusual. So I do it and I leave. I've had a great time. I hang my fairy offering in the tree. I leave it there. It'll be fun for another bushwalker to find. I go back to camping. Last day of camping, we're packing up. And I realised in the bottom of my cane basket, which is now soggy because it's been on soggy grass and we're camping, is that piece of paper, which is my blood test. I'm like, bugger, I brought that out camping. That's getting trashed. It's waterlogged. It's ripped. It's scrunched up. Rats, I've brought that. Shouldn't have brought that. I'm going to lose it. And I so can't be bothered going through the rigmarole, going back to the GP and getting another one so I can get this blood test. So I thought, I'll put that somewhere safe. And then I thought, no, don't move it. If it's just in the basket, I know where it is. It will stay in the basket. So I thought, cool. I folded it up and I watched myself fold it up. And I thought, why am I folding it this way? I've never folded a piece of paper lengthways. I folded it lengthways once, I folded it lengthways twice, and then I folded it in half. That's just not how I do things. And I do things in a very particular way. I'm stringent with my belongings. I know where every single thing is that I own. Every single thing, I know where it is. Everything has its place. I'm like, not OCD, I'm militant. It's just in me. My dad was like that. I was like that growing up. And then I spent 17 years in the military. I know where my shit is. So I put this piece of paper in the bag. I've been listening to Clyde's episode about stuff going missing. I've been really thinking about stuff going missing. I was like, oh, I wonder if stuff goes missing because I feel like stuff goes missing all the time and I just don't notice it. Anyway, I've been thinking about that quite a bit. I put the paper in my basket. I thought, I will leave that there. We're camping. We're packing up. We're going home the next day. And I find the paper again. I think, oh, okay, I'll just put this in. And then I go blank. My memory goes blank. Cool. I'll like put this in the car or somewhere that makes sense. So when we get home, I know exactly where it is. I'm like, cool, I'm packing up. Now's the time to put this somewhere sensible so I remember. And then the memory vanishes. It's cut off. I will put this ... We get home. I unpack the camper trailer. I do all the unpacking. It's my thing. I love it because I need to know where my stuff is. I'm like so hard to live with. My poor, beautiful partner who puts up with me. But he does enjoy living in my neat and tidy house. So he's inside with the kids. When we get home from camping, I put everything away. I don't like get up in the morning. I'm like, oh, we'll do it tomorrow. I'm exhausted. We've been camping. I hit the ground running. I'm like, all right, everything in the car in. The whole time I'm unpacking, I am consciously looking for that piece of paper. I'm looking for it freaking everywhere. I have to come across it. I cannot be bothered paying the money and the time to go back to a GP for this stupid blood test paperwork. That it was very unusual of me to bring it. I normally am pretty good at doing sensible things like not taking stuff like that camping. I can't find it. It's nowhere. Matt and I spend the next couple of days looking for it. I get him on board. I'm like, Matt, have you seen this piece of paper? We open the camper trailer 3 different times. I fine tooth comb the car. I go through every bag. I go through absolutely everything. This piece of paper's not there. And I have been looking for it since I packed up. And I thought, I'll put this ... memory gone. A couple of days later, heaps of other weird stuff has been happening in my house, and I'm like, oh, this is like legitimately weird. And even Matt was like, real head scratcher. I won't go into that, but even Matt's like, yeah, you know what? That's freaking weird, including seeing an owl, which I haven't seen in the 8 years that I've lived in Cairns. And I asked in my brain to see an owl. I've been meaning on telling you that. Sorry, this is just going to go on for so long. I'll get back to the owl, but I'll explain the piece of paper. So I see this owl. I thought in my brain, I was listening to an episode. I thought, oh, I never see owls. I'd like to see an owl. The next day, there's an owl at my house. I'll send you the photo, actually. Haven't seen it since. And anyway, looking for this piece of paper. It's gone. I've conceded that it's gone. I thought it's just freaking gone. I've lost it. I must have just thrown it out in a cleaning rampage. I've thrown it out. I go on cleaning rampages. I've just thrown it out. It's unlike me, and it was making my skin crawl. I felt very irritated. I felt comically over exacerbated about it. I even noticed to myself and even said to Matt, I am really exacerbated about losing this blood test. Like, I just can't let it go because I know I didn't lose it. And he's like, just call them, get another one. I call them up. They're like, no, look, I'll send you one, but it needs a doctor's signature. She's not here. And I was like, oh, for F's sake, super irritated, but still laughing at myself about it. And then I say out loud, I'm driving Mila to school. And I just say, it would be really nice if that piece of paper just showed back up. I say it out loud, driving in my car, right? I'm at home that afternoon. It's on my fridge. It's on my fridge. Top left corner, lined up, top left corner, lined up exactly where I would have put it. And I was like, this is ridiculous. I would have known that. Matt definitely didn't do it. He doesn't unpack stuff. Like, he just takes his socks off and puts them on the floor, and that's where they stay for the next 10 years unless someone else moves them. You know, he's a dude. He's a good dude, but he's a dude. He didn't put it there. My kids certainly didn't put it there. They can't even reach. And I'm like, okay, I know what's happened. I didn't actually see the piece of paper. It was another piece of paper in my bag that I'm mistaken. It's not. So this blood work paperwork is red. It's a red piece of paper. It's reddish, yellowish, yellow on the back, red on the front. It looks like a blood test. It's the only paper I've got like that. And it's folded in the distinct way that I've never folded anything before. And it's waterlogged and it's ripped from camping. And it's in the top left corner of my fridge. And I laughed and I go, no, there it is. And he's like, that's a real head scratcher. I'm like, what do you think of that? He's like, Holly, I just don't know what I think of that. What do you want me to say? Quit my job? I have to admit, that's weird. But I'm still just going to proceed now and get the girls to brush their teeth and get them to bed. So anyway, we move on. And I said, gee, Tim would love this. I wish it was centre placement. I said, I wish it was centre placement. Because, like, I feel like that would be more, it would fit in with Fascinating Fae a bit more. Anyway, it's not centre placement. It's lined up perfectly, top left corner, right where I would put it. But it's lined up like OCD lined up. I don't actually line things like that on my fridge. I'd like to note, I don't have a lot on my fridge. I cull. I don't like clutter. There's one nice artwork on my fridge at any one time and important documents. And also I looked on the fridge for this piece of paper. We looked there. So the next day, I see this green moth been hanging around in our house for a while, and it's just a moth. I'm like, oh, that's just a moth. But for some reason, I'm like busy. Like, I'm getting the girls ready for school. I'm getting screamed at. People are like taking their shoes off. I'm like, we've got to go. We're busy. We're going to be late. I stop and I just noticed this green moth. I'm like, that's such a pretty moth. I don't know. And then in my brain, I heard like an external source go moth. And I was like, that's weird. I was like, is that just like, it was like one of those intuition things, like moth. I was like, okay, look, that's just a moth. Holly, don't just, because I'm weirded out because these things just happened. And I'm like, whew, shivers. Okay, whatever. I'll keep an eye out for moths today. I take a few more steps into my house, and I've got, in my hallway, I've got a hallway table. And right in the center of the hallway table, I've got a big wooden dish, which is up. It's like a standing dish. So underneath the dish, you can place things. I've got 3 little shungite crystals because I love crystals. Right in the center of my hallway table, I've got 3 shungite crystals right in the center underneath my big dish where I've got like other pretty ornaments and stuff. And in the center of my 3 shungite crystals is a black moth perfectly placed in between the 3 black crystals. It couldn't be any more center placement. And I stopped and I pointed at it and I said out loud, I said, center placement. That's so funny. We're in a hurry. The girls are late for school. I thought, I'm going to stop and take a photo of that. I came home, the moth was gone. And as far as I could tell, the moth was on its back and it was dead. I came home and the moth was gone. There were no children in the house. There's no breezeway. The door was shut. I came home, moth gone. I thought, oh, that is so funny. I did ask for center placement and they sent it laterally in the form of a black moth. Either that or Jim, I'm totally delusional, and I've completely run away with my fantasy that fairies are real.
No. It tracks. It fucking tracks. It's totally.
Oh, and there was, oh, so sorry, Jim. Can I say one more thing? Because it's legit. It's in amongst all this. The morning, it was either the morning after the owl. It was the morning after the owl had visited. I got up. I get up at 5 a.m. and I sneak out. I go to the gym. I come back and I'm ready to get the girls ready. And Matt just manages the house until then and packs the lunch boxes. I get up at 5 a.m. My alarm goes off at 5 a.m. As I walk, I get straight up. Alarm's going off. I'm up. I walk out of my bedroom door and I hear this doosh doosh. Like, I was like, something just hit the house. Bang, bang. Like something heavy and big just hit our house. I just heard bang, bang. And I was like, oh well, I've got a pathway at the front. My suburb is interesting. It's super nice, but far north Queensland's got all the demographics everywhere you go. Sweet, someone's probably just thrown something at my house or a bird's dropped something. And straight after that, my daughter, I mentioned this earlier when we were speaking, my daughter came out of her room. This is one of those heebie-jeebie, okay, shoo, get out of my house now. This isn't fun anymore. You're scaring my children. She comes out. She's 6. She never wakes up at this time, ever. It's just she's not in that phase. She just doesn't wake up at this time. She comes out blurry-eyed, and she was sort of in like this dream state. I said, Mookie Bear, what is it, darling? She goes, Mummy, there's a weird feeling in my room. And she's super sensitive and she hears like really weird stuff. I could talk about her all day. She's really interesting in and of herself. She is like, Mummy, there's a really weird feeling in my room. And I was like, thunk, like full body shivers. I was like, yeah. I didn't associate it with this douche, with the noise. I just thought, she's a child, she's waking up, she's scared. Anyway, I get her back to bed. I go to the gym. I come home. I pull up in my driveway and I'm in front of my roller door. Like, those big aluminium roller doors. It was a super pretty house. It's all lovely. And there's these 2 big dents in my roller door. Douche. And I know that they're not there. Like I said, I'm in control of my house and everything is neat as a pin. And when things need repairing, I repair them that day. Like I know that those dents were not in my roller door. In fact, I've got a thing where I see people's roller doors dented and I'm like, oh, they should really fix that. Shame on you. It's like leaving your Christmas decorations up till July, like you should really fix that. So I have a look and I'm like, what hit my house? What on earth hit my house? There's nothing on the ground. My car is parked directly in front of where the dents are. If you were walking, and I've got a big fence as well, there's like a foot of pathway between my car and our fence. And I have to like scooch past the fence to get into the car. So if you're walking past my house, physiologically speaking, you couldn't throw something at my house and hit the roller door where it had been hit without hitting my car or the fence. You just couldn't have done it. You can't do it from above because there's an awning and the dents are outward protruding in. So it hasn't happened from inside the garage door. It's happened from outside, from the front, and there's 2 dents. And I heard a douche, a bang, bang. And I'm like, well, yeah, and I'm like, what the fuck? And then that is the same morning that I said, center placement, please. Oh, moth. And then the word moth sprung into my head. And then I have a moth right in the center of my shingle. So I planned on not telling you all this because it sounds so speculative, but I'm on a tangent and it's out there now. And yeah, how interesting is all that? There are a few more things, but I'll leave them out because I've been rambling.
That doesn't sound like a tangent at all. That sounds like that actually sounds like something that tracks. How high up are these dents?
They are at about shoulder height. They're about shoulder height. And actually, we've got security cameras out the front. This is really interesting. We've got security cameras out the front, and the security camera had gone off that night at 2 a.m. At 2 a.m., there was a youth in our driveway, a local boy, a local lad, and he'd walked up our driveway. He slowly walked up our driveway. He had no shirt on and broken left arm. Matt got him on the security camera. We've got security cameras on all the perimeter around the house. Matt's just like that. He's security dad. And you cannot come near my house without. If you walk past my letterbox, which is at the end of the driveway, security camera goes on. So we know the security cameras were working for a fact because at 2 a.m. they were set off by this teenager. Matt actually took a snapshot of it, put it on the local Facebook page, and the dad messaged Matt straight away. He goes, "I'm so sorry, that was my son," and he brought them over later to apologise. They were out and about. They were like 15, running around the neighbourhood, being teenagers. I'm like, "Oh, cool. Well, maybe it was them." And because I said, "Hey, our garage door's dented. Do they know anything about it?" I'm not asking for like compensation. I just actually, it's a bit of a mystery. I want to know how those dents got there. That no, the boys were in, like, we discovered that they were out and about. They were definitely in the house at 5 a.m. because this happened at 5 a.m. because I heard it. If I wasn't awake, it happened at like 5:02. I woke up at 5 o'clock. It was like 2 minutes after I woke up, if that. And nothing on the security cameras. So if someone had to walk past our house and hit our garage or something, they'd have had to get the angle where it was, they'd have had to walk up the driveway to do it. It's just Matt, even Matt, who's like super grounded, he just really is always like on the logical side of the fence. He and I were just out there. He goes, "Again, this is a real head scratcher. There's been a few of these lately." You know, it was like a spate of just high strangeness. And I wrote them all down because I thought, I'm not going to remember this and I'm not going to believe myself. And it's the Green Man all over again. I'm just going to write this down so I don't have to second guess myself for the next, 30 years. That happened.
It is funny that you say it's the Green Man all over again. That's super funny to me. Do you want to know what I think? I got to jump in here and tell you what I think.
Please, I'm done. I'm done with my tangent.
First of all, enough self-deprecation. You're doing a fantastic job of stringing together a narrative here. And as you're doing it, I can simultaneously feel your own intuition and memory doing cartwheels. So you're doing great.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, you're really doing great. And you're having a profound impact on me. I got to take you to Vegas with me one day because you and I are rocking like identical intuition functions, it would appear.
Fully.
It's very, very interesting, especially like the couple of times we've had moments and we just kind of breezed past a huge moment there with the pennies dropping synchronicity. But then what it led right into was something that feels to me like it's right a bowling strike up the whole trajectory of this fucking series. So let me tell you what I think. Okay. This is what I hear. I hear a Fascinating Fae fan who all along has had a reason to become one because the show is real and it's addressing the real deal, of which you are an experiencer and an inductee. And it does take something like this show to shake it loose from an otherwise, like you're saying, like a person who's been in a military setting, or it doesn't matter, a person who's been in a corporate setting, or a person who's whatever, like my first guest, Ron, he worked in municipal works.
I adore Ron.
Me too. I want to get him back one day, but it wasn't until later when he had the time to engage in things like meditation that he unlocked all this stuff. And I don't think he unlocked it for the first time. I think it was always present within him, like I think it was always present within you. And your storytelling does a really good job of illustrating that through line for a person. Even myself, like I got some weird memories in childhood that I could share with you too right now, but we'll save that for another time. But you're unlocking a lot for me as I listen to you. And so it is so here, that's all my easing myself into what I'm about to say here. So here I go. This is what I hear. I hear a Fascinating Fae fan losing a blood test paper, and fuck me if blood tests haven't come up in this second season big time.
Oh, sorry. When I found it, the day I found it, I was listening to the episode with your what was the name? The one who had her blood type changed. The day I found it, I was listening to that episode.
Okay.
Sorry, I forgot that detail. That was awesome.
Okay, Holly. Okay, that's what I'm saying. This is actually a moment for the show as much as it was for you.
also, sorry to interrupt again, and then this all happened within a couple of days of each other, these things, because I'm binge listening the show. My life is heaps weirder when I'm currently listening to the show. I see the owl at night, and that morning all that weird stuff's happening. I'm in the car on the way to the gym, and in the 20 minutes that I'm in the car, the owl guy episode starts. And I'm like, I just saw my owl. I get in the car and it's the owl guy. And I'm like, well, that's funny.
You've done something remarkable here, which is by binge listening to the show, the Fae have worked through you and reality to produce this conversation with all of these insights for everyone listening, not the least of which is myself. So yes, it makes sense. They took your blood test paper and then you get it back the day that you're listening to the blood test episode. There's something hugely profound there that transcends just that individual experience for you, but does connect back to the show. I've often said there's a fascinating Fae effect. And if you listen to the show right, it can have a profound impact on your life. For good or for worse, I don't know if I'm helping, but I know that it does that. And this fascinating, wide-ranging conversation with you is connecting so many fucking dots. It's so interesting. So here's what I think. I think that you made an offering, and then you get a blood test paper taken, which, I mean, the way you're describing that thorough search, it's just like so many of the thorough searches I've cataloged on this show. Of course you would fucking see a red piece of paper perfectly left aligned on the fridge. I also feel like it's so interesting because, you know, you're expecting center placement as a fan of the show. But when I hear about this top left placement on the fridge, I see it as directly for you and about you. So it's as much a confirmation as fairies are real as it is that you are a part of this. Does that make sense? Like, it's about...
Yeah, it does. It does.
And if you don't catch the message, I'll spell it out for you. There's a fairy bloodline in the fucking population. Fairy bloodline. You have fairy blood. You always have. It's clear to me. Woo, here come those goosebumps.
I'm beaming. I'm like, thank you, Jim. You said before, I don't know if I'm helping. Well, I don't know who else you're helping, but you're certainly helping me. And I'm not a lost little lamb, you know, but for some reason I needed to have this conversation with you today, and I'm beaming. I really am. So thank you for that.
Yeah, hardly a lost lamb at all. You're tough shit. That's clearly evident. But it's like empathy is often misunderstood as a weakness and plays out as one, unfortunately. But the truth is, it's goddamn fucking superpower. So, you know, it's so fucking interesting. I've had so many things happen like during the show or around the show that feel like the Fae are communicating with me, keep going, or yes, you're right, but when I listen to this series of events from you, it's magical. It's so interesting. The bloodline messaging and the blood type thing in season 2 is an unexpected fucking turn for me.
I love that you said magical as well, and that was really heartfelt, because that was what my argument with my mum was. That was specifically the word that she took away from me in that conversation. I was little. It was that magic. When she told me the story, she's like, magic isn't real. I had to insist. And that was the word. I mean, there's heaps of other things she could have said, but that was the cornerstone of that conversation, was that word.
In order to be able to hold on to and keep magic without feeling like an outsider, it has to be in conversations like this that are rooted in real life. I don't know if that makes sense. I just feel like... Yeah.
Everything you say makes sense to me, Jim.
Cool. Too cool. This has been really, really too cool. So you get the fucking offering out, you get your paper missing, you go through the extensive search, you see an owl in synchronicity.
Which I haven't seen in 8 years living here. Yeah.
That's not a coincidence either. All of these are direct touch points from the show made manifest in your life for you, which is so rewarding to contemplate, right? Because it also suggests a lot of the shit I keep saying, which is that we kind of have a bit of control over our reality. If it's not directly like I want it and it comes, it's at the very least the messages are being picked up and someone's delivering.
There's something to it. There's something to it. You're right. We're not just at the whim of destiny. I think we're at the whim of fate. It's the fate's like the things that do happen to you that are out of your control. And the destiny part is all those choices that you make with what you do with the thing that you were given. And somewhere in there, the magic happens. Sometimes you get messages that are outside of you, and mostly you're just forging ahead and doing all your own hard work and bringing things to you out of yourself. But sometimes there's this intervention and you get something extra and you're like, I don't think that was me. Like, I think that was something else, if that makes sense.
And then you see the owl and you get the owl episode starts.
I know.
Your husband too, like, what do you want me to do? Quit my job? That's fucking gold.
Yeah. He's like, look at the head scratcher. I've got to say it. In amongst all that, on those nights, I think it was the night, yeah, it was the owl night. Maybe it was the owl night or the night before the owl night. We had gone to bed, and my militant brain that I've talked about, every night before bed, I go out the front of my house, I light a candle, I put my feet in the grass, whether it's raining or not. I go stand in the grass, because now I know I'm a sensitive empath. I need to ground my energy or else I can't go to sleep. I do it. I come in and I check all the doors, like the rounds, which I've done for 17 years in the military. I do my rounds, all the doors are closed. We're lying down in bed, about to go to sleep, and I hear a door close in the house. And Matt heard it too, and that's an unusual noise in our house. We've got 2 doors in the house that slam in the wind. There's just 2 of them, the garage door and the girls' door. So we always have them either pinned back or closed. They're both closed, and all the other doors they just don't close. And when I was out the front grounding my energy, I actually thought to myself, oh, it's a still night. It's a still night, and it's especially quiet, and it's especially still, and it's especially balmy because it's the tropics. I thought, oh, it's a still night, like 0 knots of wind. And I'm lying in bed, and I hear a door very gently close. I've never heard a door gently close in my house. I have heard doors slam in my house. I hear them bang sometimes. How it bangs and you can't ignore it. You have to either get up and close it or open it. I have never heard a door gently close. And Matt even clocked it. He's like, what door was that? I go, I don't know. And we got up, we checked all the doors, and they were all as they should be. No door was closed that isn't normally closed, and all the other doors are pinned back. We just heard a door close in the house. But when a door closes and you hold on to the handle and it has like that really kind of muffled sort of closing sound, as opposed to when you close it with momentum and it clicks a bit more, closer to a slam. It was the door closing like you were holding onto the handle. Matt also was with me. He was like, that's super weird. And we stayed up for about 15 minutes, like really checking the doors. And I was like, I checked these. Did I check these? I checked these. I always check, and all the doors that are always open were open. And that was in amongst, I can't remember exactly which night this happened on, but yeah, I did say there were a few other things in amongst all that high strangeness, but that door closing. And again, Matt said, I was like, Matty, well, what do you think that was? And we're standing in the kitchen, and he's sort of like leaned over the kitchen bench. We're trying to go to bed. We're tired. We've got young children and jobs and stuff. And he's like, oh, I just don't know. He's like, I just can't explain what door that was. I just don't know. But I'm going to go to bed. I was like, me too. So yeah, what do you do with it?
It's interesting that you give all these additional details around this time frame and how this time frame unfolded, who you are, what made you start listening to this show. All of it is so interesting. But I'm not done, because there's more I want to say there about everything you told me. So you get this red piece of paper back on the fridge, which you obviously would have fucking seen. If you're opening up the caravan 3 times to go look for it, you're going to have seen it on the fridge. No doubt about it. Not both of you are having a fucking, mind fart for fucking 3 days while you're looking for this thing. Impossible. When you get it back, you get the paper back, you're saying, oh, I was kind of expecting center placement. But then you hear the word like moth, and then you go and see this moth. That's very interesting. And then you told me you left and you drove your daughter to school, and then you came back, and that's when you saw the dents. You heard the dunk dunk. Your daughter said there's a weird feeling. You came, you found the paper. Later, you drove and came back. Here's my takeaway. As weird as this one is going to sound, right? The question that originally led you to talk to me tonight is one that you've been holding very deeply and personally within yourself about this green man you saw as a child, who you describe as large and green. And as I think about like the whole like catalog that you've been holding in your mind and heart as you listen, and the relation to this question, and then your offering and the symbolism of the blood work paper being the thing that's chosen. Here's the thing. I say on the show all the time that they choose an intimate object. At first pass, a blood test doesn't sound intimate, but nothing is more intimate than your blood. And as it relates to this idea of bloodline and blood types changing, and the fact that the episode for the blood type is tied to when you get it back, is like this huge orchestral spin of time, space, and people to make that one synchronicity happen. That's fucking intense. But going full, like to go all the way into the deep end with where my intuition leads me. What if those 2 dents in the door are a couple of fist marks from your big green man? Just making sure you know he's real.
I have never thought of that. And I was getting full shivers and tingles, like shivers and tingles as you were leading up to that. I have never thought of that.
It's him.
Oh my God, my temples are like, my hair's like standing up. Like my hair's standing up.
My actual knees are shaking. Whoa. Yeah, that's what it is.
I'm like shaking. Oh my God, it's the green man. That's my confirmation.
Yes, you got your answer about everything. And I get the same. See what we did for each other? This is so interesting. I'm convinced that that's what that is. That's the 2 fist imprints from your big green dude. And I asked you how high, and you said they're about shoulder height.
That's shoulder height, yeah.
Yeah, and for him being bigger than you, that's exactly where 2 just like toof toof, right at hand level would happen.
Wow.
And your daughter saying there's a weird feeling, and the fact that you don't catch it on camera, how much more do you need?
Yeah. Yeah, it's very physical evidence. Without being a child who still has etheric vision, that is as physical evidence as I can get at this stage of my life.
It met you where you are at now, and it gave you an irresolvable paradox, which is how you know it's got the fingerprint of a fairy on it.
Yeah. That sits pretty well with me, Jim. Thank you for that, my friend.
Sherlock Holmes over here. You know what I mean? It's elementary, dear Watson. I'm just following all the fairy clues to the... I'm fucking joking because I'm trying to like be okay, but I am a little bit blown away here. But really just go the whole way. It means that your fairy is related to the whole thing, and the show is related to the whole thing.
Even the blood test, the fact that it was the blood test, and this speculation about maybe I just am genetically kind of inclined with the fairies for some reason, like maybe that's just, I am one of those people that has a tiny bit of the fairy blood, and maybe that's why these things happen to me.
The whole audience right now is like ding 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 ding, 3 red cherries in Las Vegas.
Oh, wow.
Geez, what would Jeff Wagg say about an episode like this? Hey, like,
Oh, Jeff would go to town, wouldn't he? I thought of dear Jeff and his lovely intellect and how similar he is to my beautiful mum with his cynicism. I mean, the world needs them. We can't all be floating around talking about fairies for 3 hours on a working day. Um, that I thought, well, this wouldn't stand up. It's a childhood memory, this and that. And then that's why I had to reach out to you, Jim, because I've been clinging on to, well, this isn't important. It's a childhood memory. But just in the last couple of weeks, I've got dents in my garage door. Something's woken my daughter up. There's an owl at my house. My things are going missing. And shit's just getting weird in an unexplainable way where my extremely pragmatic and rational and reasonable partner who loves and respects me but doesn't think fairies are real is standing in the kitchen time and time again going, well, that's a real head scratcher.
if this show has managed to help a woman who is a fairy, who is in the military, remember who she really is, and along the way get you close enough to that truth that you made an offering, and then it finally unlocked this tangible sequence of events involving your garage door and the paper, this says so much about everything. It's fucking unbelievably cool. That is unbelievably fucking cool. I feel like we got sent to each other to have this fucking conversation. And how far back does that fucking domino fucking thing go? Like,
Yeah. Well, it goes back to when I'm 6.
yeah.
And I've been listening to every episode since episode 2. I'm like, I feel compelled to talk to this guy, this fairy guy. And I haven't. And it was almost like I was like, oh, I know he'd be like maybe semi-interested in this green man, but I just didn't feel like it was important enough. It was legitimate enough, even though it is. For me, in my speculative brain, in my rational brain, I personally needed more than that. I needed something current and physical. I didn't logically think that. My subconscious mind must have put that out there. And I do this, I take the step, I do an offering, and then dominoes are falling over left, right, and center. And I finally get around to sending you the world's longest email. And here we are.
Yet it is all as it should be, because I would not have had any value from the penny dropping reference had I not spoken to Harper just prior to talking to you. So you can't escape it somehow. If fate is conspiring to let us all know that we can alter fate, I'm okay with that fate. I tell you what, it would be so fucking interesting for you, when we're done talking, to go stick your hand right inside those 2 depressions on your garage and just ask yourself what you feel.
Yeah. I'm going to do it. Actually, my partner, he was out there trying to panic. He was like, I'm going to get rid of those dents in the garage. And I don't know why, because I really don't like things being in disarray. I like fixing things. That's broken, I'm fixing it. There's a problem, I'll solve it. I'm that kind of person. And Matt was out there and I could hear him banging. And I was like, I don't know why. I was just like, stop. Like, what are you doing? Like, I'm not ready. He's like, what do you mean you're not ready? I was like, I'm just not ready. And he's like, okay. And just stopped doing what he was doing. I'd forgotten that, actually. I was like emotionally attached to these dents.
That's why, because even before I said it tonight, you knew.
Because this conversation was coming, yeah.
I think you knew that something was a little bit special about those dents in relation to this conversation.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. Okay. Okay, here's what I'd like to do. I just noticed the time, and
yes.
I also have a sense of when an episode has reached its like crescendo, and we're gonna just hover here vibrationally. So rather than asking for more stories, more questions, more insights, there's always the next episode. You'll come back to me, I'm sure of it. There'll be more. I'll be talking to you a year from now, and there'll be absolutely more, because this would only be happening in your life if you're powerful. And going back to you crying for 3 days with, your mother was doing what any rational and normal and good mother would do, right? Trying to protect their child from developing incorrectly, essentially, right? And so, but going back to that idea that like that was you back then, that's still you, and what you've just told me seems actually like an escalation beyond just a visual. So things are actually going up for you. You're ramping up, and that'll continue. So with that offered, it's funny, I sound a little out of breath. Do you notice that?
I'm feeling out of breath. I was like, whew. I'm like, as you're saying, it's time to wrap up here. I'm like, oh, thank God, because I'm in like this, I'm kind of like zinging right now. And I'm like, oh, if I stay here, I've just realized I'm getting hot. If I stay here, I'm going to be like exhausted. I need to step back into the world and go pick my kids up from school and stuff. So I don't think any more stories are necessary.
Absolutely. And I feel like shifted or something. I'm like, I got to integrate today. Okay, well, we're on the same page. Like I said, we share a remarkably similar empathetic response to stimulus. It's very, very interesting. This is one of my favorite episodes of the whole thing. I'll call it right now.
Oh, wow. You know, Jim, when I listen to you speak and I listen to your episodes and they're just out there in time and space and it's not real time when I'm listening to them or anything, I just kind of know what you're talking about. Sometimes you'll be getting your intuition stuff and I'll be tingling and I'll be saying it. Like I'll be driving along, I'll say something and then you'll say the thing like, oh, that bottle in the tree was like blocking a fairy house. I was like driving along in my car saying, oh, that bottle in the tree is blocking a fairy entrance. And then you were like, oh, early on, so you're maybe a bit tentative to like speak about your intuition and you put it out there and I was like, that's what I was saying, man. Like every episode. So also one more thing, I am interested in tarot cards and oracle cards since my shattering, becoming a mother. And I've enjoyed your tarot card episodes. And I did pull a card when we started speaking, and it's number 7. We've been mentioning 7. And it's the Singer of Intuition in a 70 card deck. So that's pretty cool.
Wow, 70 card deck,
as well.
episode 77 episodes published. That's so interesting. Huh.
Yeah. Sorry, go on and do your thing.
Indeed. Okay. Well, this is all part of my thing, which is just listening to people and talking. There's no format to the show. That's the beauty of the show. What a fucking awesome episode. I can sincerely reflect back to you. I feel as high as I get when I talk to someone for Fascinating Fae. Holy shit, this has been interesting for me. I hope you feel the same way. I know you do. This is a hell of a fucking good episode. It's funny because I know the audience is so smart and they're just going to get it, but my mind is reeling. I'm like, I hope everyone fucking sees all the connections in this one. Like, I hope people see what it means too to actively listen to the show. And if you're a person listening and you wonder why you love this show so much, it's probably because you're a fucking fairy or you've seen them or something like that.
Amen.
And if you want to talk to me, please come forward, do it. It's okay. You know, it'll be like this. I promise. It'll be fucking cool. That's me getting ahead of myself. Usually I ask for submissions at the end, but it kind of felt right to jam it in there for now.
Yeah, fully.
Okay. You know this one's coming. This will get us into the tail end of things so you can go to pick up your kids. Holly, as you know, no one could possibly know for sure, but what is important is what you think. What do you think fairies are?
Well, Jim, I do hear you ask that every episode, and every time you ask it, I think, oh, what would I say to that? And I don't know. I just don't know. I don't know as the primary answer. There's always a secondary answer in my brain. But what I feel, because I don't know it, is that fairies are at the heart of nature. There's something to do with the heart and the heart space. I think they're the reason everything works. I think that in nature, when it's left to its own devices, everything happens perfectly. I think that the natural world is made up of the periodic table. It's pretty simple. You can break everything down into a certain amount of atoms and molecules, and that's what everything on the planet is made up of. And human beings in our bodies, we are made up of the exact same thing that's in the rivers and the oceans and the forests and the deserts and even the man-made stuff. Everything I'm sitting around in right now in my house, it's all made up of the same thing I am. And what illuminates me is my heart space, that life force energy. And I think that fairies are a thing that exists, and they've got something to do with the heart of things. They've got something to do, I don't know what it is, but they've got something to do with why nature works out so well. Why it all just happens when it's supposed to, on time, untouched. And because human beings have got these big hearts, and we feel so much joy and we feel so much sorrow, and when we're in our heart space, either in a dark moment or in a bright moment, I feel like that's when we're connected. And that doesn't answer the questions what I think fairies are, because I don't know what they are. But I do feel as though it is connected through that.
Great answer, and you may well be absolutely correct. I do think as well that they're an invisible force behind what makes us feel awe when we are observing nature. The sensation is kind of one and the same. It's interesting. You know, you deserve my full respect for everything you've done and said here tonight. I just want you to know none of this is platitude. I have been genuinely responding this entire time. Let's not forget, when we started talking, my mic stopped working and switched channels. And as soon as that fucking happened, I said, this is going to be a fucking crazy episode. I'm looking right now at my 2 recording channels, right? Yours is at 2 minutes, 54 seconds, 12. Mine is at 2 hours, 54 minutes, 12 seconds. Mine is at 2 hours, 50 minutes. Because why? I had to stop and catch the fact that my mic shut off and start recording again. And right when you were getting to that high water mark in your storytelling, my mouse zigzagged all over the screen, which is so interesting. It's just all so interesting. Which episode does the woman tell me about her mouse zigzagging across her screen and her cat is looking at it?
That is season 2. I've listened to that in the last couple of months. Yeah.
Yes. I'm not joking. While we're talking, and everything you were telling me contained so many elements that came right out of this season, which makes the messaging both for you and for me and for everyone listening. You've really allowed somehow, through whatever unintentional process you were doing there of becoming fascinated, to allow the Fae to kind of work through you and your timeline a little bit here. And just, do you feel that? See, when you become fascinated by them, they can work through you a little bit somehow.
Yes.
I'm really feeling that in this moment. It's so interesting to talk to you. I get worse at hosting this show the more I do it.
But in a way, I would argue you get better.
Or the fucking people coming forward are just blowing my mind more and more consistently on a higher and higher level. And so I sound like, it's been really good to talk to you. It's been fair being fair. I mean, if I wasn't having a genuine reaction to this stuff, it wouldn't be real. So I don't know any other way to be. This is just what's happening in my mind and my body. This has been exhausting metaphysically. I am buzzed out.
Same. Yeah, I'm going to be tired. I feel like I need to eat, and I might go into one of those energetic slumps for the next couple of days.
Yeah.
And nothing seems special, and you get really flat and 3D for a while when you've been on a big high strangeness vibe.
In a way, though, good to get it out of your system.
Yeah, I think I'm hot, and I feel like there's been something in there for such a long time that just needed to come out for me. So, Jim, thank you so much for giving me that space and doing what you do and going through all the things you've been through for me to sit here right now and have that just really amazing release.
How trippy is it that like you're in Australia and I'm in Costa Rica and there's like literally no limit to the time and space factor of this?
I know.
Okay, well, yeah, I can feel that like well-earned exhaustion from both of us. I can hear it in both of our voices. So let's shut her down. Let me wrap it up here if that's cool with you. I'll do my housekeeping.
Go for it.
Yeah, I'll let you have those last words as we go to finish, as you know is coming. So, okay, well, for everyone listening tonight, you've been listening to a very special episode of Fascinating Fae, and I'm your host, Jim. If you would like to come on the show, a great way to do that is to send me an email, just like Holly did. It's a great way to get the conversation started, and I would be happy to get your email, and I would certainly reply. So don't hesitate if you're considering joining this conversation. Stories big and small, all of them fit. And so if you're feeling that urge to come on the show, feel encouraged to do it, please. As you know, you can reach me as well on social media at Fascinating Fae, everywhere you choose to look for the show. You can send me a DM, and that's another great way to start chatting with me. With all that said, Holly, what I will say is that on behalf of all of our human and non-human listeners, including your green man, super big thanks to you for coming on the show all the way from Australia tonight. I really can't tell you how much I've enjoyed and appreciated and learned from this episode. So thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Thank you.
Well, with all that said and behind us, the marathon that's behind us, if you've got some last words, I'd love for you to share them now, please.
My parting words are appreciation. Thank you, Jim, for creating this space, for allowing all of this into your life. It's they say that just because someone carries it well doesn't mean it isn't heavy, and I imagine that is true of producing a show with this subject matter as well as you do in the way that you do. So thank you, Jim. And I wanted to say to everyone that comes on, all the episodes I have listened to, I feel kinship for you all if anyone is listening to this. And I know in my life I've felt chronically mischaracterized and somewhat misunderstood, even though I've had a happy life. There's been a loneliness there. And when I am in this space and I listen to Fascinating Fae, hang out with those sorts of like-minded people, I feel a little bit more heard and held. And if you're experiencing that, I feel you. Like, I get you, even though I don't know you. I feel you. And once, there's a saying I really like about, the fascination and curiosity, and people say that curiosity killed the cat. And I've heard that satisfaction brought her back. And I fully encourage, if you've got curiosity tugging at you, just follow it. Go have a look. It might be a little bit uncomfortable, but there could be something really interesting and valuable there. Yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Here we are, and this is your last night. It came around now, and I know your road ahead is bright. You should be proud of everything you are and what you've done, and know that I'm sorry for all the scars I've made along the run, and know that I love you, and I remember those early days 1,000 years ago, it seems. And I remember how we used to play. Now everything has faded like a dream, like a dream. Now it's time to leave your world behind, into the unknown, cross the land into the other side, where you belong now. Be the girl, the woman that you are. Believe it or not, I will miss you dearly from afar. I haven't forgot. Now I remember those early days 1,000 years ago, it seems. And I will treasure the memories we made, and know that I believe that you will one day find your dreams. This is where you bloom. This is where you bloom, 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 bloom. This is where you bloom. This is where you bloom, 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 bloom. Here we are and this is your last night. It's been a long time coming, now you're doing just what's right. This is a song to take with you, a gift so when you go, you can be sure I loved you all along, and you should know.
Hey Jim, nice to hear from you. I've been wanting to send you a message for a few days actually, and I just keep putting it off because every time I think about talking to you I get this really jittery, nervous feeling. I don't know why, I just do. But since our conversation, I don't know, but I've been tripping out, I must say. I've actually been really tripping out since our conversation. It did, oh gosh, I've just had so many thoughts about it. It's been really hard for me to collect my thoughts in order to message you. So our conversation that we had has had, I don't know how to explain this, but for some reason, the actual conversation that we had, for me, had all the hallmarks and effects and qualities of an actual encounter. I don't know why, but something was like zinging. And I can't even remember a lot of the conversation. Like, I remember the gist of it. I remember the pennies dropping. I remember like just feeling like I was on a roller coaster and the tingles in my body, like up my lats, and then like the nausea and the whole conversation. And it wasn't just it. I know that you get it, so I don't have to explain it. It wasn't just the fact that we were talking about a subject that had been sat with me for a long time, since childhood and that sort of thing. It wasn't like some burning childhood trauma conversation, you know, because it wasn't. It was a great memory, and it was really nice to share it. It felt like an encounter because I feel like I was having an encounter during that conversation.
Wow, great last words. Okay, I am like hands trembling, gonna hit stop and save on all this.
Look at all the little people, once we all were one of them. But time has come and carried us far away from them. It's funny what we do remember. The mind works in witty ways. It never fails to amaze, again and again. When you wake up 50 years from now, be not surprised when you wonder how you got so far along the road so fast. Life is weird and wonderful, the thick and thin, the push and pull. Through it all, we need to make it last. Look at all the other people, once we will be one of them. Time will take us by the hand and guide us to the end. Forget me not, the aged cry, through silent sounds and weary eyes. Hear my tale before I die. I just need a friend. When you wake up 50 years from now, you're not surprised when you wonder how you got so far along the road so fast. Life is weird and wonderful, the thick and thin, the push and pull. Through it all, you need to make it last. And when you wake up 50 years from now, be not surprised when you wonder how you got so far along the road so fast. Life is weird and wonderful, the thick and thin, the push and pull. Through it all, we need to make it last.